You can see it in his eyes during dinner conversations. Not anger exactly, something colder. His wife is talking about her day, listing complaints about coworkers he'll never meet, problems he can't solve, drama he didn't create. And he's nodding, making the appropriate sounds, asking the follow-up questions he's been trained to ask. But behind his eyes, there's nothing. Not hatred, not resentment, not even boredom. Just emptiness, the complete absence of the passion that used to be there. Carl Jung saw this pattern repeat across thousands of men in his practice. Men who gave everything for love and woke up one day to discover that everything wasn't enough. That the sacrifice was accepted, consumed, and now more is required. And somewhere in that process of endless giving, something inside them went silent. Not the silence of peace, the silence of a man who stopped fighting because fighting requires caring, and he doesn't care anymore. This video will show you exactly how this happens, why it's happening to more men than anyone admits, and what Jung understood about the psychological murder that occurs when a man sacrifices his authentic self for a relationship that was never going to satisfy him anyway. By the end, you'll recognize this silent rage in yourself or in every man you know who seems fine but isn't. You'll understand why some men can smile at family gatherings while internally calculating how many years until they're free. And you'll see why Jung believed that the most dangerous man isn't the one who explodes with anger, it's the one who went silent and started planning. Maybe you're that man right now, performing contentment while something inside you died years ago. Or maybe you're watching it happen to someone you love and finally about to understand what's really going on behind the performance. Let me tell you about Michael. Successful career, beautiful wife, 2 kids, house in the suburbs. From the outside, he built exactly what society promised would make him happy. And for the first few years, maybe it did. But then something shifted. It wasn't one big thing. It was 1,000 small things. Every time he wanted to pursue a project and she needed him to do something else. Every time he had an idea for their life and it got vetoed without discussion. Every time he expressed a feeling and got told he was being too sensitive, too intense, too much. Every time he sacrificed what he wanted for what she needed, and it wasn't acknowledged, appreciated, or reciprocated. Years of this. Death by 1,000 cuts. And then one day at work, a colleague asked him a simple question. "Are you happy?" And Michael opened his mouth to give the automatic answer, the response he'd been giving everyone, including himself. "Yeah, of course, everything's great." But the words wouldn't come, because in that moment of honest self-examination, he realized he couldn't remember the last time he felt anything resembling happiness. He felt obligated, responsible, trapped, exhausted. But happy? That emotion had evacuated years ago and he'd been too busy performing to notice. Jung called this the shadow integration crisis. The moment when everything you've been suppressing, denying, and pushing down finally demands acknowledgement. Michael had suppressed his own needs for so long that he'd forgotten he had needs. He'd accommodated so completely that he'd lost track of who he was beneath the accommodation. And now, sitting in his office staring at a question he couldn't answer, he felt something he hadn't felt in years. Rage. Not hot rage, cold rage. The rage of a man who finally understood that he'd been conned. That the deal he made, his authentic self in exchange for love and partnership, was never fair because what he received wasn't actually love. It was extraction. She didn't love him, she loved what he provided. And the moment he couldn't provide it, or questioned whether he wanted to keep providing it, the love would evaporate. That realization, that moment of brutal clarity, that's where the silent rage is born. Before you tell me this is about bad marriages, before you insist that real love doesn't work this way, before you defend partnerships that actually balance, I need you to sit with an uncomfortable question. How many men do you know who seem genuinely fulfilled in their relationships? Not performing fulfillment, not claiming fulfillment, not defending fulfillment when questioned, but actually radiating the contentment of someone who made the right choice and knows it. If you're being honest, that number is shockingly small. Most men in long-term relationships exist in quiet desperation, going through motions, meeting obligations, performing the role of satisfied partner while internally withering. Jung saw this everywhere. Men who traded their fire for stability and are now wondering why everything feels cold. Men who sacrificed their edge to be acceptable and are now drowning in mediocrity. Men who gave everything for love and discovered that everything wasn't enough, will never be enough, because the relationship requires a level of self-betrayal that eventually kills the self entirely. The silent rage comes from this recognition that he was sold a lie, that he bought it completely, and that now he's stuck in the consequences of that purchase with no easy way out. This rage doesn't look like anger. It looks like checkout. It looks like a man who comes home from work and disappears into his phone, his garage, his hobbies, anything that creates distance from the person he's supposed to be closest to. It looks like mechanical conversations about logistics with no emotional depth. It looks like sex that happens out of obligation rather than desire. It looks like a man who stopped arguing because arguing requires believing that change is possible, and he stopped believing that years ago. The world sees a functional marriage. He sees a life sentence. What city are you watching this from? Drop it below, because Jung believed that geography shapes how men express or suppress this rage, and I'm tracking where this truth is landing hardest. The silent rage has stages. The first stage is the giving stage. This is where most relationships begin. He's in love, genuinely in love, and love makes you generous. He gives his time freely. He sacrifices his preferences happily. He accommodates her needs without resentment, because making her happy makes him happy. This stage feels pure. It feels like partnership. It feels like he finally found someone worth giving to. Jung would tell you this is necessary, even beautiful. The problem isn't the giving. It's what happens when the giving becomes expected rather than appreciated. When sacrifice becomes obligation rather than choice. When generosity becomes currency, he's required to keep providing or face consequences. The transition from stage 1 to stage 2 is invisible. There's no announcement, no clear moment when everything shifts. But it does shift. Suddenly his generosity isn't special, it's baseline. Her appreciation decreases as his sacrifices increase. What used to earn gratitude now earns nothing. What used to be partnership now feels like service. He notices this shift but doesn't say anything because saying something feels petty. How do you complain that your partner stopped appreciating your sacrifices without sounding like you're keeping score? So he stays quiet and keeps giving, hoping that if he just gives enough, the appreciation will return. It never does. Stage 2 is the resentment stage. This is where the silent rage actually begins, though he doesn't recognize it as rage yet. He just notices that he's tired. Tired of always being the one who compromises. Tired of his needs perpetually taking backseat to hers. Tired of feeling like his job is to facilitate her happiness, while his happiness is his own problem. The resentment builds slowly. Every time he says yes when he wants to say no. Every time he puts his project aside to handle her crisis. Every time she makes a decision that affects both of them without consulting him. Every time he tries to express a need and gets met with defensiveness, dismissal, or reframing, that makes him the problem. Jung understood that unexpressed resentment is psychological poison. It doesn't dissipate, it accumulates. And eventually it transforms into something far more dangerous than anger. It transforms into contempt. Stage 3 is where most men live for years, sometimes decades. This is the contempt stage. He looks at his partner and feels nothing positive. The things that used to be endearing now irritate him. The traits he used to find charming now grate on his nerves. Her laugh, Her stories, her needs, her presence, all of it triggers a low-grade disgust he can't quite hide anymore. The contempt shows up in small ways. The tone of his voice when he speaks to her. The way he avoids physical touch unless absolutely necessary. The eye rolls when she's not looking. The complete lack of interest in her emotional states. He's not trying to be cruel, he's just empty. The love died, and contempt moved into the vacant space. Jung warned that contempt is the death of any relationship. Not conflict. Conflict can be healthy. Not anger. Anger at least indicates investment. Contempt is terminal. It's the emotional equivalent of necrosis, dead tissue that can't be revived. The man in stage 3 is still in the marriage physically. He comes home, he performs his role, he meets his obligations. But emotionally, he left years ago. He's a ghost in his own life, going through motions he stopped believing in, waiting for something to change even though he knows nothing will. This is the stage where the silent rage is loudest to anyone paying attention. Because he's not engaging anymore, he's enduring. Not living, surviving, not loving, tolerating. And the tolerance is wearing thinner every day. Stage 4 is the dangerous stage. This is the planning stage. Something shifts in his psychology. He stops accepting the life sentence and starts exploring exit strategies. Maybe it's practical planning, calculating finances, researching divorce lawyers, figuring out custody arrangements. Maybe it's emotional planning, building a life in his head that doesn't include her, imagining what freedom would feel like, counting down the years until the kids are grown. Maybe it's both. Jung saw this stage destroy men because the planning provides hope, but hope deferred is its own torture. Every day he stays is another day of compromise with a future that feels impossibly far away. Every interaction with his partner reinforces why he wants out, while simultaneously reminding him of all the reasons leaving is complicated. The silent rage in this stage becomes almost visible. It's in the way he flinches when she touches him, the way he finds excuses to work late, travel for business, be anywhere except home. The way he builds an entire emotional life that excludes her completely. Friends she doesn't know, hobbies she isn't part of, thoughts he'll never share with her. He's created a parallel existence because his actual existence became unbearable. Some men stay in stage 4 for their entire lives. They never actually leave. They just perpetually plan to leave while accepting that they probably won't. The marriage becomes a comfortable prison, terrible but familiar, soul-crushing but secure. These are the men you see at restaurants, sitting across from their wives in complete silence, nothing left to say to each other, just waiting for the check so they can go home and retreat to separate rooms. Other men reach stage 5. This is the exit stage. Something breaks, some final straw, some moment of clarity that makes staying impossible. Maybe she crosses a line she's crossed 1,000 times before, but this time he's done. Maybe he meets someone who reminds him what connection feels like. Maybe he just wakes up one day and realizes he'd rather be alone than lonely in company. The exit is rarely clean. There are kids, finances, social consequences, family pressure, all the machinery of entanglement that makes leaving feel like extracting yourself from a car accident. Jung understood that most men never exit because the cost feels too high. Not just financial cost, identity cost. He built his entire adult life around this relationship. His friend group, his family connections, his sense of self as husband and father. All of it is woven into the partnership he's trying to escape. Leaving means burning down everything and starting over. And starting over at 40 or 50 or 60, exhausted from years of emotional warfare, feels impossible. So he stays, and the silent rage becomes permanent. This is the final stage, stage 6. The acceptance stage. Not acceptance of the relationship, acceptance that he'll never leave it. That this is his life now. Was always going to be his life, will be his life until one of them dies. The rage in this stage is the coldest of all, because it's combined with resignation. He stopped fighting for change because change isn't coming. He stopped hoping for improvement because improvement isn't possible. He accepted that he made a choice decades ago, and now he's serving the sentence that choice created. Jung called this living death, the walking corpse of a man who's still breathing, but stopped living. You see these men everywhere, at kids' soccer games, staring into space while everyone else cheers, at office parties, drinking alone in the corner while their wives socialize, at family gatherings, silent witnesses to their own lives, present in body but absent in spirit. The tragedy isn't that they're unhappy. The tragedy is that they've accepted unhappiness as permanent. They stopped believing joy is possible. They made peace with joylessness. And that peace, that terrible resignation to a life half-lived, that's the silent rage in its final form. Now let me tell you what Jung understood that most people miss. This silent rage isn't about bad women or failed relationships. It's about a fundamental lie that society tells men. The lie that sacrificing yourself for someone else is noble, that real love requires self-betrayal, that partnership means becoming less so someone else can be more. Men are taught from childhood that masculinity means provision, protection, sacrifice, that your value is determined by what you give up, what you endure, what you sacrifice for others. This programming runs deep. It makes men vulnerable to relationships that extract rather than nourish. Because when a woman asks him to be smaller, quieter, less himself, he thinks that's what love requires. When she demands more while appreciating less, he thinks he's just not giving enough. When he's exhausted from years of one-sided emotional labor, he thinks he's failing at being a man. Jung spent his career trying to deprogram this conditioning, trying to show men that sacrifice is only noble when it's chosen freely, when it's reciprocated fairly, when it makes you more rather than less. Sacrifice that destroys you isn't love, it's slow suicide. And relationships that require your psychological death aren't partnerships, they're parasitic. The silent rage is the result of this programming meeting reality. Reality where his sacrifice wasn't honored, where his giving wasn't reciprocated, where his self-betrayal didn't earn the love he was promised. The rage is justified. What he's feeling is the appropriate response to being conned, to discovering that he traded his authentic self for a counterfeit relationship, to realizing that he built his entire life on a foundation of lies about what love requires. But here's what makes the silent rage so dangerous. It doesn't stay internal. It leaks out in ways the man doesn't always recognize. It shows up as passive aggression. Agreeing to things, then sabotaging them subtly. Saying yes but delivering no through incompetence, delays, or strategic forgetting. It shows up as emotional unavailability. Being physically present but emotionally absent. Talking without communicating. Existing in the same space without actual connection. It shows up as criticism. Constant low-grade negativity that makes every interaction feel like sandpaper. Nothing she does is right. Nothing she says is interesting. Nothing about her inspires anything but irritation. And it shows up as withdrawal. Building a life so separate from hers that they're married in name only. Different friends, different hobbies, different schedules, different everything. Roommates sharing expenses but nothing else. Jung warned that this leaked rage poisons everything. It poisons the kids who grow up watching a dead relationship and learning that this is what love looks like. It poisons the man himself who becomes bitter, cynical, closed off to joy. It poisons the woman too, who knows something is wrong but can't name it, can't fix it, can't reach him anymore. The silent rage creates a house full of walking wounded, everyone suffering, nobody knowing how to stop it. Some men in this situation finally explode. The silent rage becomes loud rage. They have affairs seeking the passion that died in their marriage. They make impulsive decisions trying to feel alive again. They burn everything down, because burning down at least generates heat, and they've been cold for so long. Other men turn the rage inward. Depression, addiction, workaholism. anything to numb the pain of existing in a life that feels like punishment. Jung saw both responses as symptoms of the same disease. A man disconnected from his authentic self, trapped in a life he didn't choose, processing trauma that nobody acknowledges as trauma, because society doesn't recognize what happens to men in these situations as trauma. It's just marriage, just normal, just what men do. Sacrifice yourself, shut up about it, and die quietly without bothering anyone with your suffering. But it is trauma. The systematic dismantling of your authentic self is trauma. The years of unreciprocated emotional labor is trauma. The acceptance that you will never experience genuine intimacy with the person you're legally bound to is trauma. And trauma unprocessed becomes rage. The silent rage of men who gave everything for love and got duty in return, who sacrificed themselves completely and discovered the person they sacrificed for didn't notice, didn't care, or worse, expected even more. Jung's solution was radical for his time and remains radical now. Stop giving from emptiness. Stop sacrificing your authentic self. Stop accepting relationships that require your psychological death. Reclaim the parts of yourself you betrayed for acceptance. This doesn't necessarily mean leaving the relationship, though sometimes it does. It means renegotiating from a position of self-respect instead of self-abandonment. It means saying no to demands that diminish you. It means prioritizing your well-being with the same energy you've been investing in hers. It means accepting that if the relationship can't survive you being whole, then the relationship was never worth having. Most men never do this. They're too afraid. Afraid of conflict. Afraid of her reaction. Afraid of losing the life they built even though that life is killing them. They'd rather suffer in silence than risk the chaos of truth. Jung understood this fear, but he also understood that living in silent rage is worse than any confrontation. That slow death by compromise is more painful than the quick pain of honest conflict. That pretending to be fine while dying inside is the cruelest thing you can do to yourself. The men who break free from this pattern, who reclaim their authentic selves, who refuse to keep sacrificing for relationships that don't deserve the sacrifice, these men go through hell first. The relationship either transforms completely or ends completely. There's no middle ground once you stop betraying yourself. But on the other side of that hell is something most men never experience. Genuine peace, not the fake peace of suppressed rage. Real peace that comes from living in alignment with your truth. Relationships that nourish instead of extract. Partnerships that celebrate your wholeness instead of demanding your smallness. And self-respect that makes silent rage impossible because you stop tolerating situations that breed it. Write these 3 words in the comments right now. I gave everything. This declaration breaks the silence that's been protecting your rage and poisoning your soul. Speaking truth begins the healing, and your voice matters more than you know. Subscribe immediately because you just proved you're capable of honesty that terrifies most men into permanent silence. This channel exists for men who are done pretending and ready for truth no matter how uncomfortable. Hit that like button hard, because this message needs to reach every man suffering in silent rage, believing he's alone in this experience, thinking something is wrong with him for feeling what's actually the only sane response to an insane situation. Your engagement is the signal flare that tells other men they're not crazy, not broken, not alone. Something powerful is coming in the next video. Another truth about masculine psychology that will either liberate you completely or make you so uncomfortable you'll have to look away. Another perspective that philosophy tried to bury, because free men are dangerous to systems that require male sacrifice. Another idea that will detonate everything you believed about love, loyalty, and what men actually owe the relationships that claim to complete them. You need to be here when that revelation drops, because missing it means staying trapped in patterns that are killing you slowly, while everyone around you pretends you're fine. Stay honest, stay whole, stay alive in the truest sense, or keep pretending the silent rage isn't there while it consumes everything you could have been. The choice was always yours. Jung knew it. Now you know it too.